So guys, welcome to the second episode. We're actually going to talk about the hamburger today. First, we're going to start with the history of the burger. Then we're going to actually go to the McDonald's and have a burger. So let's start with the video.
What's the first thing you think about when I say the words fast food? Let me guess, the classic burger. A juicy ground beef patty in between a sliced bun. Some would say it's the burger that actually kickstarted the fast food revolution in the early 20th century. With the United States urbanizing at a breakneck pace, people needed a cheap and fast dish to shove in their face on their way to work or after a long shift. Think about it, before fast food, you had to order a dish, wait for 30 minutes before it actually arrived, then you got something on a plate that you could only consume while sitting down. At some point, someone realized that there was a more efficient way to feed the masses in a way that doesn't involve sitting down for an hour. Who really invented the burger isn't clear. Today, we'll try to piece together the history of the good old American burger, from its inception in the German town of Hamburg to its global rise as the king of fast food. The first hamburger started appearing in the late 19th century as a convenience food for the hard-working blue-collar American. The rapid urbanization and industrialization of the time led to the rise of the working and middle class. It was not uncommon for people to work 14 hours a day, which meant that people were too tired to cook a well-balanced meal after work. This led to an exploding demand for mass-produced, affordable food that could ideally be consumed on the go. Around this time in the US, hungry German sailors and migrants arrived at the harbor of New York, craving some familiar food after a long trip across the Atlantic. Local restaurants quickly realized that they could lure a lot of these Germans into their establishments by offering foods that aligned with the German taste buds. Since a lot of these people set sail from the port of Hamburg, it made sense to offer a dish that was local to the area of Hamburg. Hamburg at the time was well known for its high-grade beef. One of the dishes that was popular in the region was the Hamburg steak, made of beef that was ground by hand, lightly salted, and usually served raw. The first written English document that mentioned the Hamburger steak was from a New York restaurant named Delmonico in 1873. The restaurant would serve a plate of grilled Hamburg steak for 11 cents, which was actually really expensive for a time, more than double the price of a regular steak. By the late 19th century, the Hamburg steak was sold all across New York City. Now this is where things get a bit more complicated. At some point, someone decided to put a piece of Hamburg steak in between two pieces of toast and sold that contraption as a hamburger. It's not really clear who did it, and we can't really pinpoint when it happened. All we know is the hamburger quickly became one of the most popular dishes in the city, and it wasn't long before the dish spread beyond the city limits to the rest of the USA. Keep in mind, this was at a time when the quality of meat that was served was of a much poorer quality than the meat you can buy today at your local butcher. The early 20th century meat industry was comparable to the Wild Wild West. Upton Sinclair revealed this truth to the average American in his 1906 novel called The Jungle. The book portrays the extreme conditions and the exploitation that the US immigrants faced in Chicago and in other cities in the US. Sinclair mainly lashed out at the meat industry and the conditions under which its employees were expected to work. For some reason, this narrative was not the most concerning to the average American. People mostly focused on the health violations and the unsanitary practices in the American food industry that were revealed in the book. So much so that the book caused a public outcry that led to the Meat Inspection Act of 1906, which attempted to ensure that cattle was slaughtered and its meats were processed under strictly regulated sanitary conditions. While all of this was going on, the burger was somehow still gaining popularity at an incredible pace. But what happened next would really launch the burger into the mainstream. In 1921, Edgar Ingram and Walter Anderson started the first White Castle in Wichita, Kansas. The two entrepreneurs were real culinary visionaries. They knew that the convenience and the low price point of the burger meant that there was a great national market for it. The only obstacle they saw was the not-so-clean image of the ground beef. White Castle countered that by incorporating gleaming white interiors into their restaurants that resembled the clinical setting of a hospital. Meat would be ground on-site for customers to see. That way, the customers became less weary about the meat they consumed. White Castle quickly became a great success and started expanding to other states. Today, White Castle has more than 370 locations, mostly in the US. The Ingram family's refusal to franchise or take a single dollar of debt throughout the company's existence has kept the chain relatively healthy, although this has hampered growth significantly, allowing other chains to take over the lead. The most prominent of which is known as the Golden Arches, also known as Mickey D's, or Mackey or McDonald's, which was started by Richard and Maurice McDonald's. McDonald's opened its doors on May 15, 1940 in San Bernardino, California. The founders were obsessed with efficiency and speed, introducing the Speedy Service System, which expanded on the principles of White Castle that had been around for some years by then. What made McDonald's different though, besides its unique menu, was its aggressive business practices, which were introduced by the man named Ray Kroc, who joined the company in 1955. Ray convinced the McDonald's brothers to let him set up his own McDonald's franchise. They were initially hesitant, since they were afraid that franchising would mean the end of their ability to guarantee a certain level of quality to their customers, but if anyone could persuade the brothers to start franchising their formula, it was Ray Kroc. By 1963, Ray took over the McDonald's Corporation and set off an international expansion like no other in history. What Ray recognized from the start is that McDonald's reflected quintessential American qualities of affordability, efficiency, familiarity, and the lack of pretension that would enable McDonald's to become a public institution. A movie was made about Ray Kroc and his McDonald's adventures. It's called The Founder. This is one of my favorite movies. I highly recommend everyone to watch this. It's available on Netflix, so go watch it after this video, you're gonna love it. McDonald's now operates around 38,000 locations worldwide, making it the largest restaurant chain in the world, employing around 2 million people. Their global expansion made the burger a popular meal around the world. I'm sure that 99% of the people around you have had a burger at least once in their life. So there we have it, the story of the hamburger. The most American thing ever can trace its roots back to Germany. I have to mention that there are many competing theories about the origin of the mighty burger. There are still restaurants operating now that claim to have invented the burger, like Louis' Lunch in New Haven, Connecticut. But honestly, after reviewing all these stories, the German origin story makes the most sense to me, although one can never be sure. With that being said, the only thing that's left now is to try one. Let's do this.
So guys, that was it, the history of the burger. And now it's time for the delicious part. We're actually gonna eat a burger. Look at this. Doesn't that look amazing? Look, nice. Don't zoom in, it's fine. So yeah, let's try it.
A few moments later.
I get it, it's super convenient. You can eat this anywhere, in the car, while in the bus. This is the most convenient thing ever. Might be a bit sloppy, as you can see. But yeah, invention of the century. I actually gotta go home. I'm on my lunch break now, so I gotta go. Can't go in because there's a lockdown going on. But hey, we've tried it. See you in the next episode.